Hello, Nerd Initiative family. Welcome to another episode of the Man Without Fear Monday, where Nerd Initiative's EIC, Matt and myself, dive into the Daredevil comics from Marvel, and we talk about the best comic runs that Daredevil has blessed us with. On this week's episode, we are joined by one of the best people at Nerd Initiative, Shawn. We will get to him in a second. He has so graciously joined us and to give us his insights on the run, which we are very, very excited for. But Megan, how can you possibly decide which comic runs to review? That's an excellent question, my beautiful listener. How do we pick which ones? Well, that's the best part. Our listeners get to pick which run we review next. This week, our amazing listeners picked The Man Without Fear, which was a banger. If you want to pick one for us, be sure to comment wherever you watch or listen to this episode. So that's enough about that. Who am I joined here with today? Shawn. Tell us about Shawn.
Oh man, there is not much to know. My name is Shawn. You can find me over at Meeple Multiverse. Do a little bit of board games, a little bit of comic books, all sorts of nerdery, Lego, things like that. So excited to jump in. Probably one of my favorite runs out of Daredevil. Really like Frank Miller's work on the character. Frank Miller, Mark Waid, really kind of my sweet spots for that character. So excited to chat a little bit about it.
And who else? The EIC of Nerd Initiative.
What up, party people?
Matt Murdock.
I'm here. I found my way to the computer. Don't worry, I didn't trip over anybody. I didn't get real freaky or weird towards Jennifer Gardner in any regard. I am here. Yeah, I'm pumped. I love this run. I'm pumped to see Shawn, who has really emerged at Nerd Initiative as just like this low key. Like, we have two experts in Marvel, Shawn and Megan, both, and we're super lucky to have them both here. So we're doing it. This is episode 2. Episode 1 was Born Again, but we are here. The Man Without Fear.
The Man Without Fear. And it is such a big comic experience that it was an overwhelming response from our listeners that this is the one they want to hear about from us. So a little bit about it. The writer, Frank Miller, he is the OG. He's incredible. Penciler, John Romita Jr., inker, Al Williamson, and colorist, Christy Scheel. So Shawn, you mentioned that you love Frank Miller. I have to say that's an amazing choice.
Yeah, love Frank Miller. I love this whole entire thing. Last week you guys did Born Again, right? So this is the continuation of the Millerverse, right? We're doing the continuation of the Millerverse for Daredevil. And I have a love-hate relationship with Frank Miller. I love Frank Miller. I love his runs on Daredevil, but his runs on Daredevil are just so quintessential that it sometimes, as we see into the future of the character, when other writers take on Daredevil, it becomes they're a little bit afraid to step away from what Miller has runs. Hate the aspect of it, that some of the things of taking a run on and taking a chance and trying to figure out how they do it a little bit differently, or can I step away from what Frank has set up? So
Matt,
yeah,
your thoughts, because he said so many hard-hitting things right there.
He really did. And, Frank Miller, my introduction to Frank was Dark Knight Returns, which it's a very well-loved comic book, but the dialogue is pretty cringy and it's not how people actually talk, But when you read this, it's vastly different. It really felt powerful. There's a lot of really powerful moments. You start with talking through Daredevil's childhood and getting called Daredevil and then forcing himself to get beat up. And there's really beautiful artwork and moments in this throughout. And it really is a fantastic, probably one of Frank Miller's best comic books ever. I mean, to go from Born Again to this, it really is a testament to just Frank Miller putting this character on the map when he did.
I agree. And what I really liked about this run, just so people know, it's 5 issues. It's not much. Is that how grounded it was. We started from the very beginning with Matt Murdock, from when he could see. We got a really good look at his dynamic with his father. We got to know his father really well, too well. He's kind of a dick.
Yeah. But he also cared. He really wanted Matt to not be like him, because he was a boxer, but he kind of got put into a bad spot. He was forced to essentially be the mob's, rough up people out there. And he didn't want to do that, but he had no choice. And so when he kind of chose to not take that dive and Matt was out there fighting and he kind of hits Matt at that sequence. And it's really, he cares, but it's 1990s dad care in that he doesn't say, I love you at all.
Shawn, what did you think of battling Jack Murdoch?
I think it's when you look at the kind of the time window, right, for when this comic run happens, it's that pretty stereotypical kind of northeastern portrayal of the dad. Doesn't necessarily do it through hugs and stuff like that, but he loves you other ways. He wants the best for you, but you're not gonna hear I love you or get a hug as much as that, and that's just kind of very stereotypical of what we're seeing in fathers at that point in comics. But I think one of the things that's interesting about Frank Miller is when you kind of learn a little bit of his own story of where he comes from, you can start seeing how little pieces of his own life start flowing into some of his characters.
So tell me a little bit about Frank Miller's life, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
So, so here's the interesting thing. Matt talked about some of Frank Miller's other work. And the interesting thing that I think about Frank Miller is he grew up Catholic very early, said that he was essentially non-practicing by the time he moved to New York to work for Marvel. But even in so many of his characters, there's this kind of undercurrent of faith, especially with Daredevil, right? Faith is a central part of it. We see in, issue 1 of this entire run, we see the nun who is, heavily implied and all but confirmed to be his mother, who left to go join a convent. So that is, Maggie that Matt Murdock's father is all sad about and looking at the picture of. And so it's all implied. But, there's just that undercurrent. You see it in Born Again, the undercurrent of faith and the struggling with this faith. So it's very interesting to me that someone who that was a part of their childhood, walked away from it, kind of incorporates this, whether it's Daredevil or some of his other characters, into that. It's a little piece of his childhood and those experiences.
Well, that's what I love to think about Daredevil so much, is his struggle with faith. At the end of the day, he is a man of God, but he struggles with it. And you mentioned how his mom left. I never, it's kind of just one of those crazy things to me that she left, joined this convent, but she's also still in New York City. And it's such a weird dynamic. I've always wondered what happened. She visits Matt in the hospital, for instance, and she feels his cross in the first issue, or he feels her cross, excuse me. He recognizes her scent, all of that stuff. And I loved how they also kind of tied a little bit of that into like the actual show. But it's very interesting that that was the dynamic, right? And then his dad passes away and he still doesn't know his mom. He gets brought up in the system. It's crazy.
What I find so wild is she's still in New York. I personally think she left because she can't be with a villain in a sense. And, she goes to join a convent. I think she really couldn't handle the guilt, but it's like, you did something bad too. You ditched your son.
Ditched your kid, yeah.
I feel like she has kept such a close eye on Matt because remember, he was in the hospital. No one knew he had these abilities. And she said, keep them to yourself. So she's kept an eye on him.
Mm-hmm. So. That's a good point. Actually, I didn't even really pick that up when she said that. That's a really good point. And it adds another layer to their relationship, which you don't really explore much in comic books. Here and there, you kind of do, but and even the show, they very vaguely touched on it. We also end up meeting Stick, who I'll tell you right now, Stick in this run did an excellent job of me wanting to beat his ass. Excuse my language real quick, but oh my goodness.
It would be on sight if I knew Stick. Don't play me, blind man. What is your deal?
He's smacking this kid around, training him like he's stalking this kid, talking to somebody, and then in the training montage, they're just beating this poor blind kid up. Like, do you feel big? Do you feel good, Stick? Do you? And then for him to be like, he's not worth what?
Shawn, I want to know.
I mean, how do you read?
You're Matt Murdock.
Question whether or not Stick is either a mentor or an abuser.
But then you remember, Matt caught feelings in a sense of love for him and started viewing him as his new father figure. And Stick was like, "Oh, absolutely not! You gross thing, get away from me."
Stockholm syndrome. He's like, "Ew."
Yeah. And then it's so Stick just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, just in their dynamic, and he kind of does train him, but then he ditches him for a long time. So it just blew my mind that this, because I'm kind of newer in a lot of sense to some of the other runs, and there's so many different iterations of Stick, whether it's in media or in comics, but this is probably the worst I've ever seen him be.
He's kind of a dink, in every version of him is a dink.
Yeah.
So at the end of this first issue, Jack is dead. He's out. We all knew it was coming. We all know the story. If you don't, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Nice.
But we knew it was coming. He lived a fast life.
You're safe from a spoiler alert.
It's too late now. We all knew it was coming. He lived a fast life. He did what he could for money for his son. And look, I think he liked it too. I don't care what anyone says. But what was your initial thoughts after reading the first one, Shawn? Because you had 4 more to go, and it's like, okay, you gave me a lot in the first issue.
So I love Frank Miller's writing, and I told you guys this earlier today. We were talking about it. For the issue 1 of this entire run is the point for me where John Romita Jr. steps out of the shadow of his dad, and just really, like, he had done some other work, but this is where he said, I think this is Romita stepping out of the shadows, and I think part of the thing that hooked me on this run the first time I read it is he makes the city feel like a character. Like, it's so huge. Like, even as Matt as a kid, and then as he gets older, the city feels like this gigantic monster standing over the top of him, on top of all the other stuff he's dealing with. And just the little details, like Matt talked about feeling his mom's cross, right? Then when mom goes to leave, if you look, there's Romita has on her eye.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even catch that. That's a good catch.
Like,
it's those little details, man, because I'm trying to like read and go through it. So those little details are something I usually do on like a second or third read, just to really take the art in at the same time. So I didn't even catch that. That's a good catch.
Good Lord. Yeah.
That's why we brought Shawn on.
That's why. For those who don't know, I said earlier, Matt, Shawn is going to kick our asses with his insight. I can feel it.
He is.
And I was right.
So good.
It's so good. So, Matt, what did you think of the first issue?
It was a lot. I mean, again, you grew up with Matt. You got to see Matt, who he was. He was somebody who stood up to bullies. He didn't back down. And then he had to kind of make himself back down because his dad didn't want him doing that. And so kids would stand outside his room calling him Daredevil. So you kind of got the hints of why he called himself that. And it ties in beautifully later on. And he's always been that kid with fight in him, and he's always had a lot of anger at the same time, and that anger never goes away, as we come to find out.
Yes, that leads me into the second issue of Daredevil Man Without Fear, who Daredevil, not Daredevil yet, but Matt Murdock, he is going through it. It starts off with him identifying his father's body. He has to use his heightened senses to track the killers. And this is our first time we meet Elektra with her toxic self.
Look at that baddie. She really is like just classic early 90s look of Elektra, but she is up to absolutely no good because we have her there. Also have other versions of Elektra where she's just like, he's chasing her down. All this secret. Matt is down bad for Elektra. And I feel like you did this on purpose.
What do you think, Shawn? So, Shawn, what did you think of issue 2? There's a lot that happened, and I need to know your thoughts.
Yeah. Oh man, the whole Elektra thing, like, that's just such a great thing, and I think she kind of, she's kind of that temptation, right? I talked a little bit ago about Miller working those aspects of faith into Matt, and Matt Elektra is the anti-Maggie, right? Maggie is the nun at the convent, and Elektra is everything not.
That is true. And you have to think at that time, female comic book characters were not like Elektra. They were more like Sue Storm. They were the happy girl next door look. And Elektra comes in and she's like, I don't care if you like me or not. This girl, she is amazing.
She really kind of comes in there and she's driving cars to the edge of the cliff. She's diving off cliffs. She's driving away. Matt's chasing after her, and
she's the real Daredevil.
She matches his energy, but in a polar opposite way, like Shawn said.
Yeah. Yes. I didn't think about her being compared to Maggie. That is
because it's like the devil and the angel on your shoulder, right? Elektra is there. She's like the kill, give into your instincts, give into that anger. Then Maggie and his faith is on that other side. And it's, those things
she's
are
really
pulling at him always.
She's really the encouragement for him to connect to that darker side of himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She really is. And she ends up leaving just again, she just dips out of nowhere. Poor Matt. Peace. Goodbye. Well,
at the end of this second issue, she actually just jumps off cliff.
Oh, that's right. This is the issue where they drive, because there's him and Foggy are walking. Then all of a sudden, Matt's diving into this convertible. And he mentioned this is the first time he's like, I forgot what it felt like to be scared. And I was just like, this man just feels nothing. And so do drugs, Matt. Good Lord.
He found a drug, just not a regular type.
No.
I know, apparently, like this, he just, instead of doing drugs, he decides to find like the worst possible woman out there in them streets and almost gets thrown off a cliff in a car. Crazy.
She
Right, but I
just
mean that's that's what it is, right? It's the clean cut dude that goes for, and it's opposite's true, right? Most clean cut girl possible goes for the bad boy, the clean
I
cut
know.
choir
That's how
boy
I feel about
goes
goth baddies.
for the bad girl who's driving a car off a cliff.
when you have to think Elektra being who she is and what she puts Matt through, he's depending on his other senses with her. He
Yeah.
doesn't have to see her. He doesn't have to see what she's doing. He can feel every other sense though with her. And I think that's a huge thing for him.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. It's that feeling of blind trust in a way, if you will. But you're right. He doesn't have to like where it's almost like this. He can just let loose, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not just the let loose part, but I think really when you see her, she's the first person since Stick that really
Mhm.
pushes him to go beyond what even he has done. Stick said, "Quit being sorry for yourself. Get up." There's the scene in the first issue where he goes back to the gym and he's on, I think, the uneven bars or something like that, isn't it? Where he
Oh,
just
yeah,
eats
yeah,
it and he's laying on the mat and Stick's like, "Get up, quit feeling sorry for yourself. I've been blind since I was born and I was raised on the streets. I'm not interested in hearing your whining."
Or them streets, boy.
Right. You're not about this life, Matt. Like, and it's really until Elektra comes along, he doesn't have anyone else that pushes him like that. And she pushes him like that with a different aspect to it, the romance, the attraction side that he obviously doesn't have for Stick.
They get real freaky throughout. Oh yeah. Jesus.
That does lead me into the third one where we find out that Elektra did not die falling off a cliff, but actually they start a relationship. She is bananas. He has a craving for bananas and they fall deeply, deeply in love. But her father is murdered and then she did. So it's like this whole third issue was just us seeing Matt go through it again.
He's back at his anger. I mean, he found happiness and he kind of for a while was able to move past the anger that he carries. And then Elektra leaves and he has that empty feeling within him. And he's back to square one almost, And at that point, there's that moment where too, and this might be the fourth issue, I read them all sequentially. He's getting ready to go back to Boston. He's practicing law. He's not going to be staying in Hell's Kitchen and he's ready to just move on because the pain of her leaving is too much.
Yeah.
Well, that is the fourth issue. In this one, he's actually putting off all his studies for Elektra and like just his life's going down the toilet either way.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. See, I'm just all over. Like I read them all in a row. I'm not doing my best work. I apologize.
But I think it
Nice
talks about
together,
how
fun
smoothly. I think it talks about how smoothly Frank Miller does with this whole story because it is one huge story and you don't see the difference in the issues.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point. It does flow
I
very smoothly.
also think he talks about, issue 2, we have that cliffhanger. Issue 3, we go into finding out she survived the cliff, things like that. One of the things that we see like in the discourse with the MCU now and Marvel and stuff like, and just in general, because of the internet, we are this instant gratification generation. Could you imagine like picking that up fresh off the shelf when it happened and then having to wait for the resolution for what happened to Elektra going into issue 3?
I mean,
No.
yeah, that's a really good point. I would love to see what the reaction, especially because comic books were big in 93, but they weren't kind of to the point we have today. And the best thing about it is there weren't spoilers. There weren't websites out there spoiling this stuff early all over Twitter and which would have made it even better of an experience.
Right. Your theories, we didn't have where we could get on here and throw around our theories together, right? You had to hang around your local comic
sit in
shop.
our brother's
and chat with the
basement.
owner. Chat with the owner, or you're in somebody's basement or on the telephone. Hey, did you finish that issue? And you had your small group, and now there's all sorts of different theories that could go on out.
People make podcasts out of theories. Who would do such a thing?
It's true. And it's just, there were a few things in this run that like, I still am confused about. Like, how did she know who Matt Murdock was when he first met her? Like when she was running
they never
around
explained
stripping away, how did she know? Like, how long has she been watching? And it's like, does that mean Stick was involved? Did she learn about him from Stick? Because it's like, the Stick knows her. Stick does not like her.
That's very good. I didn't think about that. That's something deep right there because she knows exactly who he is, and they never explain that.
Yeah, she
I
literally.
don't know. So Stick is in the new Psylocke Ninja. Stick is in the new Psylocke Ninja, and he knows about Elektra. He knows about Elektra.
Okay.
They are protecting Elektra.
Oh shoot! Well, now I got to read
I
it.
did not. I haven't. I now I have to go read that because I didn't
Right.
read
So
that.
like
And
Psylocke Ninja takes
I would have
place
known that if I
from,
read your review.
takes place from the famous X-Men story where Betsy uses the Sigil Perilous to get,
Yeah.
everyone starts a new life. And that story, it's kind of a way of them trying to clear up the retcon with Psylocke, and Quinnan, the Psylocke, is
Yeah.
assigned to go and get what has been taken from the hand. And then, big spoiler alert if anyone has not read it yet, this is your chance to turn away, close your ears. At the end of the issue, we find out what has been taken from the hand is Elektra, and they're nursing Elektra back to health, and it's Stick who is part of the group helping take care of her. And you meet the others. There's Stick and Stone and Hand and things like that. So
Dang, I got to pick that up.
Yeah,
then.
I think we
didn't
met
think about
Stone in this comic, or was the next one? Because Stick is
think it was the
talking to
next
him. Yeah. See, they all just go together.
That's what I'm saying. Well, continue. Yeah, I mean, like, because the third issue was basically her leaving, but then the fourth issue is kind of where
Yeah.
Matt starts to become Daredevil.
Oh, I want
Right.
to talk about 1 second in this third issue really quick. At the very end, when we first meet Kingpin, and he like pushes that guy's head. Did anyone
Oh
else get,
yeah.
did anyone else get like romantic vibes there when he's like holding his head? He's like, "Oh, your hands are so strong," and I was like, "Who do you think that is?"
Yeah, it was kind of
Kingpin.
weird at first. Like, oh, your hands are nice and strong, and then snap, and you're just, that's right. Dang,
I
it
can-
was crazy because that was our introduction to Kingpin, and it was such a big
Homoerotic.
introduction. It was, and that head felt real small in those hands.
He was just like, "You always know what to say. You're just so strong. You're just so smart," and then dead.
Yeah.
Hey, at least it was quick, I guess.
And again, like I come back to it, that Kingpin introduction is part of the reason I say, like, this is Romita Jr. stepping out of his dad's shadow. That panel that Matt shared with Kingpin, like that is a perfectly, look at the lines on that. Like the shading on the color, like that is a foreboding panel.
And the way he just
You
looks
get a
out over the
sense of
city, basically.
you get a sense of the weight that Wilson Fisk carries in just that drawing, not just his figure, his literal size, but the figurative weight of him from that, and that singular rose.
And the way the rose stands out too. It's very like that red against dark colors, and it really pops. Yeah. And it, you can go into, since it's Daredevil, you can theorize the red being, Daredevil down the road, or like their whole demeanor towards each other. But then he's looking out over the city, and you really do get this sense of dread because now this new guy's on the block and things are only just beginning with him.
Yeah. Yes. And we do find out what a dirtbag Kingpin is in this next one, because we're introduced to the youngest person yet, Mickey.
Yeah.
When I first read this, I was struck because Frank Miller does not shy away from the hard topic. And boy, oh boy, did he do that to us here. What were your thoughts, guys? Shawn, what was your
tough.
thoughts?
Yeah, the whole thing with Mickey is just this issue is, it's tough, right? You find out about the child ring, and you find about all this other stuff going on, and Mickey's kind of the stand-in for all of the people who are affected. But you even get the sense of still just trying to figure it out, right? We're in the next to last issue of this run, and Matt's still trying to figure it out. I talked to some people, there was a lot of talk. I'm sure Matt was part of that as a big Daredevil fan. When Born Again came out, every single week, when are we going to get to see the costume? When are we going to get to see the costume? I'm like, look, you guys obviously did not jump in on Man Without Fear, because like it is a slow burn. Like we're
it is. I mean, look at
in, and we're still in sweatpants and a blindfold. Like,
well, I mean, even before that, there's that really cool scene of just him aura farming up there. But then you're absolutely right, because we get a dope scene of the sweatpants, the sweatsuit, and the black. And this is probably one of my favorite panels that Romita has done in this run too. Just, I love the sizing of Daredevil and just how dope he looks too in this outfit.
And the shoes, man, like they're not Adidas
yeah,
because
man.
you don't want to get sued, but they're very clearly Adidas.
yes. And it leads us to some good stuff. I mean, he's out there going to town. He's just really fighting. I'm just clicking pictures apparently, but yeah, I mean, it is like him. There's that sequence where they show him doing acrobatics across the rooftops in that, and that's really the first oh, it's Daredevil. You know, you're pumped at this point.
Right. I think the thing that I like about issue 4 of this run is it's that 50-50, right? Issue 4 feels very much like a scale to me. Like we're still trying to see, like, he's still Matt, he's still Daredevil. He's trying to find that balance. Like he's studying law, he's doing his legal work, he's doing what he's supposed to do. But he's also kind of having this realization that maybe the law isn't necessarily enough by itself to protect the innocent, right? So we're having this kind of back and forth balance where he's still figuring out who he is and what he's about, essentially.
And
Agreed.
plus, this is his first mission as Daredevil. Even if he hasn't taken the name, he is now in the mindset of Daredevil. For those who don't know, in this issue, Mickey is a young girl who he found kind of hanging out at his dad's old boxing gym. It was completely abandoned, and Daredevil kind of took her under his wing. They trained a little together, and then she was taken because Kingpin does the trafficking game. So
Yes.
Daredevil, this is his first mission. He locates her. Takes down everyone. He saves her life, and then he opens the door to this huge trafficking ring that, like, there was at one point all the kids started singing and you couldn't hear them, but it was haunting.
Well, we couldn't, like, but Matt heard children singing.
Yeah, but the reader can't hear it.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, we can't hear, but there's a mention where Matt talks about hearing it, and you're just like, what the heck? Like, it's that you don't have to see it. Your imagination starts to kind of play into what you can kind of imagine. And it's dark. You're right. I mean, Frank Miller does not shy away from this kind of stuff. And to a degree, that adds a lot of depth to his stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I think interesting about all of it too is we really see with some of these scenes that transition of Matt from kind of the earlier, like, swashbuckling style Daredevil of some of the earlier comments to more of that street level brawler. You can kind of see the bare knuckle boxer of his dad start coming out in him. Yeah, that panel, like, just straight.
It is. He's just nasty, a straight brawler. The way he's drawn too.
In it, like, I'm in it. I am in the mix, face to face. That interpersonal battle.
You kind of even see it earlier too when he breaks the dude's kneecaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
He fights dirty, man. He hits hard, and he's smart at the same time.
Al Williamson
the broken kneecap dude looks like the kind of guy who would still have a sweater on if he took his shirt off.
Al Williamson really knocked it out of the park with the coloring, because there's just such a good focal point on a dark red, which that's leading us up to he's going to be Daredevil. But we also see in this issue that he is making moves to become Matt Murdock too. He's willing to ditch his job to go help Foggy with something that doesn't help him at all. He ditches going on the plane for his job that he's going to get fired from, and he's aware, to go help Mickey, and at the end of it, he's like, I don't even care. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And
Hell's
he's
Kitchen's where I'm supposed to be.
Exactly. And it's that character building that we see so much with Frank Miller that is handled so beautifully with just perfect balance. So yeah,
you had froze. But 1,000%. I mean, you get, like, again, these, like, really cool shots that kind of is this heroic moment of Daredevil in his suit and things like that. And it really is that defining moment of, now I know what I'm supposed to be. I found an outlet for my anger at the same time, and I found my purpose in life.
Yes.
Well, and look, like that panel that you showed, I talked about earlier in that issue 1, Ramita making the city feel like character in and of itself with its size. And then you look in that panel of him in the red outfit and how Daredevil is front and center and takes up so much of that panel. And then the city is kind of shrunken behind him. So you're subconsciously, whether you realize it or not, you're associating with growth over these 4 issues, because he has grown from being a small part of the panel to now he takes up the entire panel. And again, just beautiful coloring, beautiful line work. And I told you guys earlier, I can sing the praise of this all the time. Like, Frank Miller is easy to talk about, but John Romita Jr. really does not get enough love for this run, for how it is stepping out on his own.
1,000%. I fully agree on that.
Very much agree. But that does take us to the very last issue. So much happened. Matt blows up the dock, causing everyone to rush out to find him. He fights them all because that's what he does. And there's the whole thing with Larks. Larks threatens to shoot Mickey, but Matt simply repeats the phrase, I don't want to kill you. Let her go. And that was the most Daredevil thing I ever did see.
He just, the way he backs him down and keeps repeating it too. He's like, I don't want to kill you. Let her go. I don't want to. And, Larks keeps talking to him, He's, you're crazy, man. I'm gonna shoot you. And Matt, and he finally pulls the trigger and Matt just swats the bullet away. And again, he's just like, I don't want to kill you. Let her go. And it's such a hard moment, man. It is so good.
I mean, I think about it like from the other perspective. Like this dude said stop and you try it again. Stop, try it again. You shot a bullet at this dude and he's giving you every chance, dude. Like he's literally giving you every off ramp and you're still 120 down the freeway, blowing past every off ramp you're being given to get out of this situation.
And it's just like, just leave the girl, give her up and run. I understand she's seen your face, but like, dog, you're about to die.
You just saw this dude take out all of your crew essentially, and you're still trying him. And then you watch him swat a bullet out of midair.
Yeah.
At a certain point, I'm done trying him. I'm out of this. This is too weird for me. I'm gone. I'm going to go reevaluate my life. I'm going to go to a convent myself.
This guy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Do I?
I said I didn't understand what you said for a second.
Oh, yeah. I said, Matt's talking about he's giving him all these chances and he swats the bullet away. Like at some point you just say, like, this dude's telling you try a seasonal Oreo or something, but don't try me. Like this is too much.
He is. And it's so hard. And I love the way this wraps up again, because it kind of goes into Matt fulfilling his destiny or finding his purpose in life, and him and Foggy, talking about starting their own, law firm together. And then they kind of start there. And that feels, everything before this was an epilogue. And now you really feel like Daredevil start as this 5th issue wraps up.
Very, very true.
And you really see him in the last couple of pages. You really see him feel the weight of what's going to be happening, like what will become kind of that signature of his character, that weight that he carries every time he has to do something that's against his moral code, right? So in trauma, we would call it moral injury, when you have to do something against your moral code. And that's essentially what he's having to do. But he also is realizing sometimes that's your only option.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So out of 10, what would you gentlemen give this whole run?
Oh, go ahead, Shawn, you first.
Oh, 10 out of 10, like easy. Like,
okay, thank you. I'm not the only one. I'm giving this a 10 out of 10.
10 too.
Yeah, I mean, you literally have to just sit and nitpick to find issues with it. Every single person on this team slams a home run. Like, Miller's writing is great. We've got great art. We've got great coloring, like Matt talked about earlier. Yes, I talked about Ramita giving that size and the weight to Fisk in that panel, but it's the coloring of that rose that pops against all of Ramita's lines and the shading that really makes that panel stand out. So everything about this, even the lettering works well. You never in the course of these, with all the action going on, struggle to, follow the flow of what's happening in the story.
Agreed.
Very true. But then go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. I was just saying this is like one of the best origin stories in comic books. Honestly, like this is, to me, it's honestly Matt's origin story in comics. How many times have you seen a different origin? This is, for me, the one that I stick with the most when we're talking about origins of characters.
Yeah. This is it for me as well. This is like, I somehow it's still underrated. I don't know how, but so that does bring us to the end. Shawn, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me on Threads. You can find me on Nerd Initial's website doing reviews. You can also find me over on Blue Sky. Check me out. Sometimes it's rambling. Sometimes it's stuff I find at Walmart, on a good nerdy day like today, finding a new puzzle. But I'm always there ready to hang out and chat with folks.
I love that. Matt, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so Lauren, who also is an editor with us, her and I do Hops Geek News. We talk comic books, movies, TV shows. We got a couple interviews. One of the Cheersies winners, Caroline Shuda, and her sister Catherine come to talk to us about Supernatural and a lot of their stuff. So we got that coming out next week. I'm on everything, whether I'm reviewing movies, streaming, comic books, all that good stuff. So Hops Geek News is where you can find me, or just nerdinitiative.com, man.
And I am Megan from Vigilante Vibes. You can find me quite literally everywhere except TikTok coming this week. I'm done with it. So just look for Vigilante Vibes. You can find me on nerdinitiative.com. Look for my reviews too. With that being said, thank you everyone who's listening to the Man Without Fear Monday, because we are bringing our passion to you guys, because we cannot stop talking about Daredevil all the time. So thank you for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to comment so we know which one you want us to review. That being said, have a wonderful day.